In this interview, Cathy Wood, the CEO of ARK Invest, talked about her latest predictions and analysis for Bitcoin and the crypto market. She talked about the latest advancements in Bitcoin mining and how they can affect Bitcoin's price trajectory in the near future. She also talked about blockchain, Web3, and the next money revolution.
We have never been like this moment in history in terms of the amount of change that is about to, it's already started. We feel the ground, as you just said, shifting underneath us. It has already started. 5 major innovation platforms evolving at the same time. You have to go back to the early 1900s to see anything like it. You had 3 platforms then. You had telephone, electricity, and automobile. Today you have DNA sequencing. You heard it on the conference, DNA sequencing, robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, blockchain technologies. All of them are in exponential growth trajectories, and they are converging with one another in massively important ways and profound ways. And they're going to deliver, we believe, if you just take a look at the technologies themselves, over the next 10 years, we believe the market cap associated with these 5 platforms and the 14 underlying technologies is going to scale at a 30% compound annual rate of return. These are astonishing rates of return. And if you're a good stock picker, you'll probably do even better than that if you're focused only on innovation. It is going to change for 2 reasons beyond the environmental concerns. One, the technologies are ready. The kind of battery technology, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Those 3, actually, that's a convergence taking place in the transportation field, whether you're talking about autonomous vehicles ultimately, or drones for parcels or food delivery and so forth. So yes, you're absolutely right. These worlds are, the digital and the physical world finally are converging because the technology is ready, and just as important, the costs are low enough. The costs were prohibitively high before, especially when it came to electric vehicle sort of battery technology. But thanks to Elon Musk, and I would say also to the Chinese, who are moving very quickly in this direction, that is no longer true. In fact, the total cost of ownership of an electric vehicle, most people don't know this, is lower today than that for a gas-powered vehicle. Most people just look at the sticker price, yep, and we think in 2 years that they will be the same price. And then a few years after that, we believe that electric vehicles will be 30% plus lower in price. So these cost declines continue in emerging technologies, whereas the internal combustion engine is a very mature technology. So it is not enjoying any more cost declines. They ended a long time ago. Right. That's a very commoditized industry. And yeah, I remember when China made a decision that this was one of its goals to dominate that sector, that's when the commoditization began. But there's another thing, and I think what will change the picture are solar roofs, like Tesla has designed. And the reason we think that's going to proliferate solar over time in a more comprehensive way is because the roof will be a part of the house. That's how it'll be financed instead of consumer installment debt and right, cold calling and so forth. So it will just become a part of our residential infrastructure, and it will become a part of our mortgage. So it'll be a very different adoption cycle than we think that we've seen thus far. We can add another wrinkle here, part of our research, which we talked about during the conference, which is, with the way the electrical grid is evolving, we could see Bitcoin mining become a part of that infrastructure, so that here in St. Petersburg, for example, we fill up our energy storage units quite easily because it's so sunny here. The overflow could go to Bitcoin mining, which would accelerate the shift towards renewables. because the whole ecosystem will become so much more profitable over time. Well, I think China banning mining was very helpful in that regard.
Yes.
And so the US was the biggest beneficiary of that. I think 34 or 5% of the mining now is taking place here in the United States. And Kazakhstan also. So we're seeing people like Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey, who both care an awful lot about the environment, trying to figure this problem out. And in fact, what I just mentioned about Bitcoin becoming a part of Bitcoin mining becoming a part of a utility ecosystem came out of research that we at ARC had done, led by Brett Winton, our director of research, and Yassine Elmandra, who's our lead crypto analyst. Working with Square, we were able to dimension how much the solar and wind would proliferate, how much faster it would proliferate with Bitcoin mining as a part of the ecosystem, as opposed to without it. And I think that research is starting to bear fruit. We're seeing utility ecosystems. They're getting the plot, and they're looking for new ways to profit. And in the meantime, or in the process, they will be accelerating the shift towards renewables. Ironically, given the way people talk about Bitcoin. Yes, well, first, let's start by agreeing that a lot of people are worried. And I think that's good news. Half of the solution is understanding the problem. And I think the reason we're understanding the problem maybe a little faster than would otherwise have been the case, and understanding it more broadly, is because China wants to win at this game. And they are moving up the league tables in terms of semiconductor chip manufacturing, focusing on AI. Just generally, from our point of view, and what we seek to encourage is innovation that solves problems and makes the world a better place. Typically, that is what it does. Now, is technology used for nefarious purposes? All the time, all the time. And having cybersecurity experts out there focused on this, having the government really focused on this, I think is good news. Is good news. But in terms of solving the world's problems, we see AI converging with each of the platforms, including blockchain technology. We see it critical to autonomous taxi systems and drones, which are going to lower the cost of transportation and make it much more convenient than it is right now, and much safer, much safer. We see it in the genomics space, the convergence of DNA sequencing and artificial intelligence and gene editing and other gene therapies, the convergence of those actually curing disease. We now have functional cures for sickle cell disease, beta thalassemia, and a rare disease called ATTR. And that latest one was an Intellia gene editing solution that was done in the body, not done by pulling cells out of the body. We are curing disease. Could not happen without artificial intelligence. And in the case of blockchain technology, I think we're going to see we're already seeing some very interesting convergences between blockchain technology and asset management in the form of hedge funds that employ data scientists to try and beat all the averages out there. So I don't think we'll be able to get away from artificial intelligence. I think we need to get on the right side of change here, make sure that we've got the right experts focused on the potential problems, but then run with the solutions that it offers. Well, in Big Ideas, we describe this by using the term revolutions. There are 3 revolutions taking place simultaneously right now. One is a money revolution. One is a financial services revolution. And one is a next generation internet revolution. Right. So on the money revolution, Bitcoin and Ether to some extent, but Bitcoin, surely, it is the most secure network out there, is the first, and each one of these words is really important. The first global, private, decentralized monetary system ever invented. And it is going to have profound ramifications. Just ask the people in El Salvador. And recently, President Bukele of El Salvador had a conversation with President Erdogan of Turkey because they are going through a currency crisis. And so I think the emerging markets are going to adopt this kind of monetary system increasingly because their own monetary systems, very dependent often on the dollar or on the euro or someone else who does not control the population. They would prefer not to be dependent on politicians. This doesn't involve politicians. So that's the monetary revolution. And we think that it's going to proliferate faster. Emerging markets are very interested, except for China, of course. They're interested in making the digital yuan
Right.
the reserve currency of Asia. And that's fully controlled by people. What I'm discussing is not. The second revolution is in the financial services industry. We do believe that DeFi, decentralized finance, is going to usurp the role of most financial services companies today. Most financial services companies are middlemen, and DeFi takes the middlemen out of the equation. You know, in the early days, some of your viewers may know of Lending Club, and it took some middlemen out of the equation, was able to offer higher rates to savers and lower rates to borrowers, and became very, very popular very quickly. Well, put that on steroids. That's what we have going on in DeFi. And again, it's a global movement. All of these are global. They are not. They're not being governed by any particular nationality. Now, regulators are now turning their sights on
Yes.
DeFi pretty aggressively. You saw in the chart how at least once a month, twice a month, in the last year, a regulator somewhere around the world has said, "Hey, we've got to investigate this."